Do you want to see how to make this beautiful journal? It's got an open binding system and every page lies completely flat. I'm going to show you how to make this journal and much more coming up right away. Welcome, my name is Debbie and this is Pouring My Art Out for the Lord. And we have embarked, Diane and I, Diane from Faithart Design Studio and me, Debbie from Pouring My Art Out for the Lord, have embarked on another collaboration. So we actually have an introduction video that we published on October 27th, Monday, this past Monday. So if you want to get all those deets, it's airing on my channel and on Diane's channel. So catch that if you are interested in, all the details. But here's just kind of a little bit of a refresher on what's happening if you haven't seen that yet. And I'm going to go through the kit and we're going to make the journal today. So welcome. So first of all, just a little brief about the project. Again, it's a collab between Diane and Debbie. We did an Exploring Joy collaboration, which many of you were involved with this past July. And we had phenomenal success with that. It was a wonderful, wonderful study. Lots of ladies took part, made beautiful journals. Everybody shared. It was a glorious time. And then we started doing another collab for Truth Tuesdays. Every second Tuesday, we publish an introduction to looking at one of the cultural kind of lies that we see prevalent in our culture, and then using the Bible to see, is this biblical, and why is the Bible better, and all that kind of stuff. So lots of you are following along with that as well. This one we're entitling Halleleujah Heart, and the purpose of this one is to celebrate and worship the Lord. We did it kind of in a timing for American Thanksgiving and also preparation for the Christmas season. So I think it works really well for both of those things. And again, if you're not familiar, Diane and I have a collaborative Facebook page as well called Rooted in Christ Creative Community. So if you haven't joined us over there, go check that out. That's linked below as well. We give lots of details about our studies, what's happening, extra information, freebies, all kinds of stuff in the Facebook group. So if you're interested in following us with these projects, please go join us there. You can be encouraged, you can share, you can ask questions, all that kind of stuff there. So that's the project. So this particular one is a study based on Psalm 136. So we're going to take it apart and we're going to look at it in detail. We're actually going to do 10 study sessions on Psalm 136. We're going to introduce you, or maybe you've already been using the inductive study method, but we're going to go really deep into studying the Psalm, studying the context, studying, lots of what goes into that Psalm, and we're going to use the inductive study method. So we've got prompts and questions for you to follow along with and make a really in-depth study of your own. So we're going to do that through 10 teaching video sessions. I have, I'll show that to you in a minute, but actually I'll put it up on the screen here. This is So I'll put it up on the screen here. This is the schedule for our video teaching sessions. So you can see it begins on November 3rd. Diane and I are both going to have a video each of the days that we're going to do the study. It's going to be a Monday, Thursday, and a Monday. It ends on November 17th. This schedule is in the kit, so you don't have to memorize it or copy it or whatever. So we'll just start with session 1. We'll end with session 10, and go through all of the inductive study method prompts and questions and stuff with you on these videos. Now, before these videos are aired, we will also publish for free in my coffee shop a list of all the questions and prompts that you need for the following week's sessions. So tomorrow, if you go to my coffee shop, you will see the first 4 sessions available for download. So you can download those for free, and that will give you an opportunity to work through the questions yourself if you like to, or at least acquaint yourself with the questions. And then when you watch the teaching sessions, you'll already have a little bit of your study done, or all of your study done, which would be great. So that's how it's going to work. So the introduction, like I said, the introduction video was aired on Monday. So you can check that out. And the study begins November 3rd, which is also a Monday, next Monday. So the kit is a collaboration again, or this time. Exploring Joy, we did separate kits. This time we decided to combine our talents and have just one kit. It turned out fabulous, guys. We went back and forth with this kit. This is the longest, the most work we've put into a kit. We just, we added and changed and, and refined, and it's just a super, super kit. We wanted to do something for the fall session, but we didn't want to have the typical orange and yellow and that kind of color palette, which is fabulous. I love all those fall colors, but we just wanted to be a little bit different this time. So we selected a palette with teal, plum, and caramel palette. So I think it turned out just fabulous. So it's about 54 pages. I don't know, we kept adding and subtracting. I think it's 54 pages, the final thing here. I'll flip through it in a second here. And it's available, it was available starting Monday, but it's available until November 16th for a discount. We're going to use the code system again. If you've been with us for a while, you know what the code system is. What you do is you go to Diane's Etsy shop, you grab a code A, you purchase that, and then you get a discount code, and it'll be HH and then 3 letters. Then you go to my coffee shop and you get a code as well there, and the code will again be HH and 3 letters, and then you put those 2 discount codes together and you go to my coffee shop again and purchase the kit, but use the discount code and you'll get it for free. So that's how you get the discount. I will link all of that below, how you do that. Well, I think I'll link the kit. You can go to the kit, and the kit will have, in the description, it'll have all of the instructions, so you can follow that. It's not difficult. It sounds a little convoluted, but we created this system because it was really hard for us to send money back and forth without paying huge fees for conversions and extra fees and PayPal fees and all that kind of stuff. So it was just kind of crazy. So we decided it would just be easier for us to split it right at the beginning. So that's why we're doing it this way. And then the journal. So this journal it has a really unique binding method, super flexible pages, lots of expansion room. I made this journal actually for a project that I was doing with my membership group at the beginning of this year, from January to March. I called it Songs of Jesus. We were studying the Psalms at that point. This is not what we're going to do, but this is the journal. So what it is it's got a unique open binding system. If you can see here, I'm going to show you right away how to make this hinge system here. And then each page has a built-in pocket. And then each pocket can house like several pages. Like this one's got 2 full booklets, and each booklet is 6 pages, I think. So that all fits in there. And then there's 2 kind of blank pages, and then it goes like that. And it just flips really nice. It's just really expandable. I don't think we're going to do this on this project, but you can if you want. I added just a little belly band thing back here, and a notepad for a bunch of more notes that we were studying during that time. So, and then here's the back cover. So we're going to do cardboard covers. We're going to do this open binding system. I'm going to show you how to do all of that right away here. I'm just going to quickly go through some of the kit here for you. I think I basically talked about what this is. This will be in your kit. It talks about the inductive study method. We also gave you exactly which pages to print, what the usage of that page is, whether you need it single-sided, double-sided, print it once, print it twice, if you need it to be borderless, one-sided, double-sided, and then Diane's paper choice and my paper choice. We agree on quite a few of them, but a couple of them I just do it a little bit differently, and she does it a little differently. So you have a choice, and maybe you have a different choice, so that's totally fine. If you can't print borderless, you can trim off the white edges. There might be a slight adjustment, but that'll work as well. Double-sided, your printer might do double-sided, or you might have to just feed it in again. That's what I do. And yeah, we're going to show you right away how that works. So the first thing in the kit is a cover topper. So we're going to make a cover, and then we're going to add a topper to it, just like I did on this one. This is the actual cover here, the gingham, and then this is a cover topper. So these are toppers, and we gave you 3 choices. So this is the teal one. This one actually should be larger. Printed wrong for me, but it's a gold one with the text of Psalm 136 in the background. And then here is the plum version. I'm going to use actually the plum version. So there's that. Then there's a couple of pages for wrapping the cover. So that'll be what wraps this outer cardboard here. And we've got 2 different pages. We've got this page and this page. This page looks great with depending on which cover choice you pick, it would look great with this one, and it would look great with this one. It would look good with this one because these are the colors of the kit. It would kind of tie it together, but I decided I didn't like the this background for this one, which, you can do whatever you want. So I printed this one twice. So this will be my front and my back cover, and this will be the cover topper on top of that. So, just a little bit of difference. You can do it how you like. And then this is our inside covers. And I wanted to do like a marble cover, because that's how a lot of the old books used to have, like an inside marbly cover. So that's what I did with this one. So that's what we decided to do for this one as well. So you can just print 2 of those for the inside covers. And then we made some beautiful collage pages. So Diane made 3 and I made 3. Actually, I think Diane ended up making 4 and I made 2. I can't remember. But we did 2 in each color. So here's one with the plum undertones. Just gorgeous ephemera and stuff in the background there. I'll do this first and then I'll show you the backs. So here's another plum one. Here are 2 in the caramel. Beautiful images. So these ones really are, fall colors, but it kind of ties together the teal and the purple. I think it just sort of makes it all blend together. So love those. And 2 teal ones. Lots of biblical images in the backgrounds of this. Here's a map of Palestine, Holy Bible, church. So there's lots of Lots of Bible in the background there. So there's 6 of those. Those are going to be the pages in our book. And then on the back, we have printed like backing pages. So these 2 are kind of a old ledger style. There's another one. Just some kind of neutral backgrounds for there. So those are our pages. And then, so this is one page here, and this is another page. So that's where, this will be the collage page, and the collage page is folded to the front, and then here is just kind of a plain page because that will be covered by our booklets. So then the booklets are just basically folded in half. We've got 10 different writing pages with different dots and lines and graphs and all kinds of stuff. Really beautiful pages. So we've got 10 different ones that you can use. I just printed, I wanted 10 pages for 10 booklets. There's going to be 10 sessions. I think Diane is going to do 2 pages for each booklet. So she's going to have 2 of these for each booklet. I may add pages as I go, but I'm going to start with just one folded page per session and see how that goes. So I printed 10 of these front and back, 10 pages front and back. Where does it stop here? There. Okay, so I have 10 pages printed front and back with those lined pages. And those I'll just fold in half and make a booklet. I'm not gonna, even if I end up using more than one page, I'm not going to attach them to each other. You could add a staple or something if you wanted to. These ones I just left loose. So, I mean, it works totally fine. These ones I have 3 pages in each one. And then we have the text of the psalm that we're going to be studying, and it's provided in ESV and New King James Version. So here's the entire text, 26 verses. And then you'll find out very quickly that this particular psalm, the second part of the psalm, repeats itself through the entire psalm. It's a refrain. So I wanted to just take out the refrain, not that it's not important, but just to follow the flow of the rest of the text. So this is just without that refrain. So it's in those 2 versions. So I just printed out those 2. You can print them out ESV or New King James, whatever you like. And then we have tons and tons of ephemera. So I'm just going to really quickly flip through these because we're not going to really get to the ephemera today. Lots of like word art and quotes and tags and all of these things that we can put on in our booklets that'll identify what we're talking about. Numbers 1 to 10 for our booklets. Bunch of fun tickets and little fussy cuts. Some Hallelujah girls. Postcards. So it's kind of almost a little bit of a juxtaposition between some modern stuff and some vintage stuff, which I think is really fun. Here's some ready-made pockets and belly bands for you. And then this is going to be our binding, which we're going to use right away. So the binding, you can use whichever paper you want, but this one is kind of for the binding. It's just a neutral page. I've printed it front and back on some cardstock. So I'm just going to put away some of the other stuff, get the papers that I want for this, and I'll be right back and we'll start making the journal. Okay, so the other thing that we need besides our paper is we need 2 pieces of cardboard. And these pieces of cardboard, I'll write it down here for you, are 5 3/4 by 8 3/4. So the size of our pages is going to be 5.5 by 8.5 because we're just going to fold a piece of paper straight in half. And these ones were a 1/4 inch wider and 1/4 inch longer. So you need 2 pieces, one for the front cover and one for the back cover. Doesn't really matter what weight it is. These are fairly light, doesn't really matter. And then you need some ribbon. On my original one, this is what keeps the pages together. And you want some slack so that you can add extra things in your book, but you don't want too much slack. If you have too much slack, then it kind of becomes sloppy. So I'll show you how to do that in a minute. But you just need like about a foot of some coordinating ribbon. I found this black ribbon with the gold accent, and I thought that would be really pretty, so I'm going to use that. Doesn't really matter what the width of it is. I think Diane did one sample and she used a thinner ribbon, so she used 5 pieces. I used 3 pieces, a thicker ribbon, so you can adapt whatever. And then the other thing, totally optional, but when you're making your covers, one of the reasons that I wanted this piece separate is then we could layer something underneath it. And I just pulled this just some kind of soft mesh in gold sparkles, and I thought I would just layer that in between the cover piece and this background piece. And then you can add other things too. You can add ribbons or buttons or that kind of thing for your cover, however you want to decorate that. But so if you want something in between, you could just use a piece of lace. You could use you know, any number of things, a piece of fancy fabric or whatever. So I just thought I would mention that. So let's maybe wrap our covers here first. So I'm going to put this to the side. So for this part, we just need our 2 pieces of cardboard and our front and back cover. Now you can use these ones, or we also have the teal one with the golden autumn leaves falling down, whichever one you want to use. So I'm just going to put some glue stick on one side of my cardboard. This is the Pritt stick. I've used different ones. I know Diane really likes the Pritt stick, and the Pritt stick was really expensive for me for a while here in Canada, and then I found a good price, so I bought a bunch of them. But there's some other ones that are good. Scotch Create, Elmer's Extreme, not the Elmer's School Glue, but the Elmer's Extreme is good. So I'm just gonna center that. I'll just put it this way so it'll be easier. I did not print these borderless. You don't need to print these ones borderless. You can if you want, doesn't really matter. You're not gonna see it. So I'm just gonna roughly center that. That does not have to be exact at all. Mine looks like it is a little crooked, but that's okay. I often use a brayer just to, when I'm doing big pieces like this, it just helps kind of warm up the glue and spread it, and just so that it adheres really well. This is not really, that glue is not really holding anything together. The glue we're going to use now is going to hold it together. But I really dislike when I have a cover and the paper's loose on the front and it kind of bubbles. I just really don't like that, so that's why I always do that. Then I'm just going to miter these corners, and I'm just going to go like about that far away. And it doesn't have to be an exact 45. This is pretty loose, so that's just probably 1/8 of an inch from there. You want a little bit because then your cardboard's not going to show at the corner. It will be covered up. And then I want to bend the paper right at that cardboard. So I find the easiest way is just to put it upside down, just bend it over like that, and that is bent at the right place. I'm just looking for my bone folder. Here it is. So you just kind of give that a little bit of a crease again on this side, like that. And then for these little bits here, I just kind of take my bone folder and kind of like crease it right next to the cardboard here, and then on that part there, I'll show you what that does. Just kind of right along there. So then when I fold this here, it's already trained to fold in that spot. And see how that gives you a really nice crisp corner there? If I just tried to fold these here, then this little lip here would kind of go funky, and this just gives you a really nice finish there. And then fold that one over. So there's our cover. So then what I want to do is I want to just glue these onto here. And you can use, you know, some tape. You could use, you could just use your glue stick as well. I'm just going to use some of this tacky glue that I have. And I like to glue two opposite sides first. So I'm going to do the top and the bottom first. And then I'm going to glue the sides. You can see I'm not really being super careful about this. It's just getting these sides down. This part is going to be covered by our inside marble cover. So you're not going to see any of this except the very edges. And we've taken care to make those edges really exact and nice. So that's the only part that really matters on here. And the surface, the front of it, of course, as well. Okay, so there is our front or back cover completely wrapped. So I'm going to quickly do the other one. I'll just speed this up because it's exactly the same. There, so there's my two covers. I was thinking while I was doing it, if you pick the teal with the stripes, you want to make sure the stripes are going straight. You don't want, you know, like I was kind of messy with how I oriented. I mean, it looks pretty straight anyways, but if you're putting the cardboard onto the striped paper, you want to make sure that it's straight so that your stripes are not a little wonky. If that bothers you, if it doesn't bother you, then don't worry about it. So I'm going to complete my front cover, at least this part. I'm not going to totally decorate it, but I'm going to do this part now because I think what I want to do is put this under a heavy book for a while I'm working on the rest of it, just so that it adheres really nicely. So I decided to grab out some lace. I think I'm going to layer some lace on here as well, because this is, you know, it's kind of see-through, I guess. And I just wanted something else, just a little bit more on there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually glue this on the back, because if I glue it here, you're not going to see the lace from side to side. It's not wide enough. So what I'm going to do is just cut a piece of lace the length of my topper here. Then I'm going to cut it up the center. And then I'll just glue half of it on this side and half of it on this side. And I could also do a piece at the top and the bottom. I'm not sure if I'm going to do that or not. Let me get this on here and then I'll decide what I want to do. Okay, so I got that on there. I was not super precise with the corners and that. I don't think, you know, I could take time and really miter them nicely and that kind of stuff, but I don't think I'm going to worry about it. I think once everything gets on here, I think it will look totally fine. Now it looks like my piece of gold is maybe not quite long, quite wide enough. Mind you, I don't really want it to show too much. I think actually that looks good. So, center this on here where I want it, and then I'm just going to weight this down and it will attach there, and then I'll just pick these edges up and attach it a little bit more. So I'm just going to put something heavy on it and put it aside, and we'll work on the binding. So the binding is kind of the heart of this style of journal, and it's not difficult at all, but you do need to be fairly precise when you do the binding. So keep that in mind. Just, you know, take your time and do it. You know, do it as precise as you can. So we need to have an 8.5 by 8.5 inch piece of paper for the binding. So it's already 8.5 inches this way. I'm going to do it 8.5 inches this way. If you are not able to print borderless, part of the sides here are going to be covered by we're going to have the binding, and then we're going to have this over top. So if you have a little bit of white showing, that's totally fine. Cut the white off of the top before you measure down 8.5 inches though, so that you have from top to bottom it's 8.5 without borders. If there's borders here, that's okay. And you're going to have, because you're cutting this down from 11 inches, sorry. Because this is 11 inches, you can cut off a little bit here and a little bit here and still have 8.5. Here, you can have a little bit of white border and we'll cover that up and that will be fine. So if you don't have borderless, that will work fine. So you're not going to see too much of this binding, but you're going to see, you know, a little bit. I didn't want it to just be white. But, you know, I mean, you can orient it however you want. It doesn't really matter. So what we're going to do is we're going to score at 1.25 inches from one side. Then we're going to flip it all the way around. So now the 1.25 is on this side, and we're going to do 1.25 on the other side. Okay. So we've got a 1.25 from this side, 1.25 from this side. Simple. And then we're going to put it, it's kind of hard to see the scores on here. So then, but you know where they are on yours. So 1.25 inches, and then we want 1/2 inch, every 1/2 inch until we get to the next line. So because it's 1.25, it's going to be 1 3/4, and then 2.25, and 2 3/4, and 3.25. Sorry for all the quarters, but just, you know, take your time and go 1/2 inch at a time on your scoreboard. And again, keep this, you know, really solid in that upper left hand corner. I'm holding it really tight there so that I'm not going to get wonky. Okay. So I don't know, can you see all those scores there? So we've got 1.25, half, and 1.25. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. 11 1/2 scores in there for a total of 12 spots. And then the 1/4 inch there. So, and then you just fold. So just kind of take your time with this too. You can just lightly do it with your bone folder. Make sure as you're folding, just maybe make sure that you've got, you know, this is even at the bottom and the top, just so that your folds are not a little bit off. Sometimes we can get a little bit off. So make sure it's straight, and then just give it, you don't want it like to you know, crease the heck out of it 14 times. Just do a nice light score there, because what you're doing if you're scoring it, or if you're pressing it too much, what you're doing is you're weakening the fibers of your paper, and this is the binding, this is what's holding everything together, so you don't really want to weaken this structure. I printed mine on cardstock. I have 80-pound cardstock. Diane uses 65-pound cardstock. She uses a different brand than me, so the brands sometimes make a difference. Sometimes there's cardstock, sometimes there's cover stock. I don't actually quite understand all of it. I try to figure it out once in a while, but this is what works good for me. Use whatever cardstock you have, lightweight cardstock that prints on your computer. You don't want super heavy and you don't want super light, so just take your time and get all of these folded just like that. And there is our binding system done. Okay, so we're just going to put that to the side for a minute, and we're going to work on our pages. So here are our pages, and we're going to need to score these as well. So we take one, and we're going to end up cutting off a little bit. There's different ways to do this. So put it in your scoreboard with the top facing up, and score at 5.5 inches. And then you can fold it back. Let's just do that for all of them first, and then we'll decide something. So put it up here. Just score them all at exactly in the middle, 5.5 inches. If you have some white border that you need to trim off, then trim it off and score. You can still score at 5.5 inches, but trim your white border off first then. Okay, so they're all scored at 5.5 inches. And then there's a couple of different ways that you can make these pockets. For this one, what I did is I folded over. These ones I did a little bit different way. This book is actually a little bit different size. So this ended up being 2.5 inches here. So what we can do is we can fold this over and we can measure 2.5 inches, and then we can cut the rest off. So I'm going to do that for a couple. So if I have, so that's 5.5 of 2.5 plus 3. So if you flip it around to the opposite side, so you're cutting off the excess, then you can cut it off at 3 inches. I'll show you what I mean in a second if that didn't make sense. Okay, so we've got this 5.5, and then this is 2.5, and then we cut off 3 inches here. And we can use this for some other pockets or different things. So just put it aside. We're not going to use it for the papers, for the pages. So you can make all of your pages like this if you like. The other way that you can do some is, Diane kind of came up with this, is you can fold it in half like this, and then you can have a top folding pocket. So you wouldn't trim anything off of there. And this would be your page, and when you turned it over it would look like this, and then your pocket would be at the top. I think for me I'm just going to do all of mine the same, and I won't mix myself up. So I'm just going to cut 3 inches off the right hand side of all of these papers. So I'm taking this side, turning it over, and cutting it at 3. So 3 inches off the right hand side. So then you can fold on those scores that you made. then you should have 6 identical pieces, just like this. Okay, so there are our pages. So then what I want to do is I want to make a thumb notch. You don't have to. These pockets are, you know, easy enough to get in and out of. But I did a little thumb notch in the middle here. You can do it or not. I'm going to measure mine here just because I want them all to be some, you know, standard or whatever. So 8.5 by 2 divided by 2 is 4 1/4. And I'm just going to maybe punch 2 at once. Will that work? Should. Yeah. No problem. Okay, do another 2. I hope you guys like this journal. It's just a really, you know, it's simple, but it's kind of, you know, it's different. It's kind of special, and it actually is really, I mean, really expandable. Depending on how you do your ribbons, you could, you know, you could really make it a thick book or a thin book. So we're going to kind of make it in between. Probably a little bit more on the thinner side. At least that's what I'm going to do. Okay, so there's that. If you want to ink, which I do, it's probably easier to ink just this one edge before you get it all put together. Because once we glue that on, it will be, you know, it's a little harder to glue on that one edge. So I'm just going to get all of those inked, and I'll be right back. Okay, and then I took the opportunity to ink around the whole thing. So with this closed, I inked around there, inked here, and I inked all the way around there. Just a little bit, just to give it a finished edge. You can do that now or after. And then I'm going to glue my pocket shut. So I was thinking as I was doing this, you could also leave this open as a flap. So many ways you can do this. So, you know, if you wanted to just open this, keep this open as a flap, you can do that as well. But I'm going to, like I said, I'm going to make all mine the same just so that they're easy and I don't get lost and whatever. So just glue those 2 edges, and I finished the other ones while I was off camera. So then you can decide, you have 2 of each color. So there's 2 of the caramel ones, 2 of the purples, and 2 of the blues, the teals. So if we bring back our, well, we don't need this quite yet, that we could decide how we're going to put our pages in, if we want kind of matching pages together. Like in here, you're going to have those 2 pages, and these 2 pages will be back to back. These 2 pages will be back to back. So, you know, you can decide if you just want to mix and match, if you want, you know, your 2 purples to be, I guess it will end up to be like that. So I did this one differently than my other book already. And that's another thing that you can do too. These ones I did facing pockets, and then here are no pockets. And then I have facing pockets, and then I have no pockets. But in these ones, I think on this side, I'm going to add a pocket anyways. So that's where I'm going to use these strips that I cut off here. So on this one, I might use this for the pocket maybe. On this side, I could make another pocket up here. I could make a pocket here. I could make a pocket here, however I want to do that. So I think what I'm going to do actually is I'm going to do like a purple, and then a caramel, and then a teal, and then a purple, and a caramel, and a teal. That's what I'm going to do. Okay, so then what we want to do is get your binding out again. And what we want to do is we want to have mountains, I guess. So we pinch the first two, like we have our 1 1/4 inch, and then the very next 1/2 inch, we pinch it there so that we have this mountain coming up. And then the very next score, we pull that one up as well. So we have another mountain right beside it. There's no gap in between these. And we just keep going all the way. I actually initially got this idea for how to make this binding from Natasha from Treasure Books when I made my other Songs of Jesus journal I keep showing you. So I can link that below as well if you want to check out her channel. She kind of goes into a lot more depth of you know, how to do it this way, how to do it this way, and this option and that kind of stuff. So I'm simplifying it and just giving you sort of the one option. A few creative options, but you know, the spine is just going to be the same. So what we have here is we have 1 1/4, 1 1/4, and all of this in between, right? So just make sure these are, you know, kind of, again, you don't want to press them to death, but you don't want them, you know, you want them to stay that way. So now what we're going to do is we're going to glue 1 page to the left side of each one of these mountains. Okay, so we've got this 1 1/4, and then we've got this mountain, and this mountain has a left side and a right side, and we're gonna glue it. I mean, you could glue them all on the right side too if you want, but I'm going to glue them on the left side. So what I'm going to do, I think I'm going to use glue. You could use tape for this as well, but I think I'm going to use glue. It's going to be a little bit hard to see. In fact, I can't even really see my lines here. So you could just ink them a little bit if you want, just to help yourself see them. And then just kind of smudge it up again. You want this right into that fold and centered from top to bottom as best you can. So I got it in there, and then I'll just fold it over. It's hard to show this on camera because you kind of have to bend and whatever. So now I have this first. Hang on, I need to adjust this just a little bit here. So that is on the left-hand side of the first mountain here. Now, this one is, yeah, okay. So let me think if I can show you this a little easier way. So there's page 1. So page 2, I think if I kind of scrunch it up like this, and I put page 2 here, so that's exactly where I want it, but I want the glue to go, or I want the spine to go on the back of my page here, where the pocket is. So kind of test fit where you want to put it in, then fold it back. I'm just holding this all in place. Then you can put your glue there, or your tape. If you use glue, you have a little bit of wiggle room. And then just fold it over, and there's your second page. So on each of the mountains, you want 1 page on each mountain. So here I have my 1 1/4 inch. I have my first mountain with this one, with this page attached. Then the second mountain is attached to this page. Then I want my third page. I line that up. This gets folded over, tuck it in nicely. And then I just want this glued on here. And fold that over. You might have to just kind of, you know, put your pages in and kind of just think about it for a minute. Just kind of wrap your head around this part. I'm not sure. Okay, so that one is attached to the back of that page. Make sure all your pages are right side up. Okay, and then we'll put our next page in. Again, overlapping this 1/2 inch spine, tucked right into there. Fold this over, just kind of get this all tucked in nice. See how my pages are lining up perfectly on the left-hand side there? And then open this up again. Put your glue right here. Fold that over. And press that on. Seal there. Okay, and then we open up just from that fold there because that part is glued on. Open up that. Place our next page on. Line it up on the left hand side. Fold this over. Tuck it in so it's nice and firm in there. Hold the page on your left hand side. Fold this. See, this is not attached yet. Open this up, and we want to glue right here. Just trying to say it a few different ways so that if it doesn't make sense, maybe it'll make sense the next time I say it a different way. Because it is a little bit unique. You might not have made this sort of binding before. If you really feel like it's confusing, what you can do is just take a little, actually did this just to, I just did a little demonstration when I was talking to Diane, and I just folded a binding. This is like for a 4-inch high book, and it's still 8.5 this way. I did my scores like I'm telling you. And then this one actually goes this way because I have 6 mountains here again, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, and then just take a little page, take a little 4-inch page. You could even make yourself a little book or just do it as an exercise and glue a page to the left-hand side here, left-hand side of this one, left-hand side of this one, left-hand side, left-hand side. And then just see how it works with the pages. And then you'll just really get a good feel for it. I mean, you don't have to do that, but you know, if you're really confused and you just want to kind of try it, there's no harm in doing that. Okay, and our last page, stick in there, fold it over, tuck it in, put your hand here, hold it firmly, and open this. Put your glue on. This is the only, you know, kind of tricky part of this whole album. So once you get done this part, you're good to go. Okay, so this part just stays loose there, but that gets folded up. So now when we put it into our journal, we will have 1 1/4 inches here to glue onto our front cover and 1 1/4 inches on the back to glue onto our back cover. And there's our pages. Just for fun, we're not going to do it this way, but if you watch Natasha's video, she has her book, she doesn't put the ribbons on, and if you don't put the ribbons on, then your book splays out like this. So you can open it, you know, you can open it like this and splay it out like this. It's fun, but I don't think it's not the way I want it. I want it, you know, to open like a book. But anyway, that should be our completed front and back, or not front and back, but spine and pages. Okay, yes. So I want my ribbons on next here. So make sure that, you know, you don't leave it this way. You fold this one back. So you have 1 1/4 inches like that there at the back, and 1 1/4 inches like that at the front there. Okay. I'm going to measure 1 inch up from the, or down from the top, and 1 inch up from the bottom. And then we've got 8 1/2 inches total. And so I'm just going to make a mark at 4 1/4, just so I have them completely centered, because you're going to see them. So, and then what we want to do is we want to wrap it around, but we want to leave a little bit of room here. So I'm just going to take a piece of tape, just to hold the ribbon in while I get everything glued. I think it's easier that way. So I'm just going to get a piece of tape, and I'm going to center. Mine has to make sure I got the gold facing the right way. So you want to put the ribbon right in the middle of that first line, and you can put it all the way to the edge of this 1 1/4 inch binding. And I should have made my tape longer. Well, that'll hold it anyways. Okay, so that's just one piece of tape right in the middle of that line. Okay, let me get a longer piece. Okay, and then we'll take another one of these and we'll center it where that next mark is. If you can see that mark that I made 1 inch up. I'm going to center the ribbon on there, push it all the way up here, and then tape it on. You're not going to see this because that'll be covered by our inside marble piece, so don't worry if it goes beyond that. This is just to hold it for a minute until we get the glue on and get it all in position. And then this one, we again have the ribbon right there, so we push it on, line it up, put the tape on like that. Okay, so that's one side done. Okay, I put my ribbons into my book. After I was finished, I thought of a better way to show you. So I'm going to show you this better way and cut out that other part because I think it was probably confusing. So I'm just going to show you on here because I can't redo my book. So what I want you to do is cut 3 ribbons that are exactly 3 1/2 inches long. That's important. So be as precise as you can. So I'm just going to cut one more. So I have 3 that are exactly 3 1/2 inches long. Okay. So then take your first ribbon, and I showed you in the video how to measure 1 inch in, 1 inch in, and in the center. I'm not going to worry about doing that for this example. So I want you to put it right at the edge of this 1 1/4 inch overlap. Okay, so tape you're going to have pages here, so it looks a little bit different, but, and then put one at the other side, line it up right with that edge, and then put one more in the center, line it right up with the edge, like that. Okay, and then I'm just going to squish all of this up, and then turn it over. And then I'm going to get 3 more pieces of tape. Let me just get my tape out here first. Okay. And then instead of like measuring this to see if this is exactly 1 inch, this is the part that I'm going to change for you. Just wrap this around, line up this edge right, this edge of the ribbon right with the edge of your binding, and tape it on there. That makes this exactly 1 inch, which is what we want. We don't have to mess around with the ruler and trying to estimate things. So again, do this, line it up right with the edge, tape that one on, and the third one, wrap it around, line it right up with the edge, tape it on. And then what we have is, this one doesn't have all the pages, it's flopping already here. But if you open it up like this, then it has 3 ribbons that are exactly 1 inch. Because we have 1 1/4 over here, we have 1 1/4 over here, and we have 1 inch there. So then you don't have to mess around with the ruler and try to estimate how big to make them. So hopefully that is helpful. Okay, back to the video. Doing first. Okay, I'm going to do the back cover first. So I'm going to take these tapes off now. This is double-sided tape. I should have showed you what I was going to do first. I'm going to just put this on here. I want to, the pages are 1/4 of an inch shorter than my back cover. So I want this to be centered up and down about, 1/8 of an inch each side. And I want to line it up right on the edge of that paper there. Okay. So I'm going to put some glue on. Put it on this whole area. And go watch Diane's. Diane's doing the same video. She's making her journal. But, invariably, we all do things a little bit differently than each other. And maybe she'll say something that, resonates more with how you think. And you can just get some other ideas from her. So, let me see, how's the easiest way to put this down? This way? I don't know. So squish it up, get it right on the edge. So I want all these pages to line up right on the edge, and I want about 1/4 of an inch from the top and the bottom. So I'm just going to move it up just a touch here if I can. And then just press it down. If you put too much glue like I did, you might end up gluing a page together, so you might have to just double check that. So that should look like that on the middle, or on the back. We're going to cover that up, so don't worry about that. So just make sure that's glued nice and solid there. So that is glued onto the back, the edge of the spine and the edge of the back cover are flush. And if you look here, I probably got a little bit crooked. There's this much at the top and there's this much at the bottom. So that's how you line that up. Then we can get our front cover, which has been drying here. And I haven't attached all of this, but I can attach that in a minute. So I'm going to take these off. We're almost done, guys. And then I promise you this is the only hard part. It's not hard, it's just a little bit of thinking, a little bit tricky maybe. Okay, I had a little problem with my glue there, but I got it on. Now I'm just going to line up my front cover. So I'll just kind of set it on. And you want the covers to match. That's probably the most important thing at this point. So maybe just kind of put it this way, squeeze it from top to bottom, make sure they're both solid on the ground, on the table there, and press it on. And then after you've got it pressed on a little bit, open this up just to make sure you're not gluing something together that you're not. Just make sure that looks good on both sides. And then we'll just put something heavy on it and leave it for a few minutes to cure. Okay, all right, so I got my covers attached. So it's almost done, guys. So then the last thing we need to do is put our end papers on. So what I did is I cut two pieces. I had two papers with this marble print. You need two because one is not quite big enough to cut in half. And this cardboard that we cut was 8 3/4 by 5 3/4. A little bit smaller than your cover. That's all I'm trying to say. Okay, and then we just want to glue it on here. And I like to glue it right up to where that fold is. So I kind of put it on like that, glue it up to the fold center at top to bottom. You want it to cover up your inner workings here as much as you can. That's why we want it fairly big. So I'm just going to use my tape runner gun here to tape this one because my glue is not wanting to cooperate so well. It's been working too hard for me lately. So did the tape runner, and then I'm just gonna do a little bit of glue. If you watch me, you know that I glue things kind of to death. So you probably don't need all of this glue, but that's what I like to do. Okay, and then I want to push it right up to that crease, center from top to bottom. Put it down. It's a little bit off, but I am okay with that. Once you get your pockets and everything on here, you're not going to notice that. And there is your end paper. And I already put the one in the back on, so they're both on. And that's our cover done. So this is how it flips. It flips really nice, lays flat. You know, there's no... that's one thing I like about this. You know, when you make a fat, chunky journal, you can't really turn the pages anymore. But this one, because of the wiggle room that we made with the ribbons, it stays flat on every page. And this will expand. It looks loose now, but we're going to get all of our stuff in there, and then it won't be expanding like that. It'll just be nice and full. You kind of see at the end here, like it kind of comes out like that, which is what you want. But the ribbons hold it in so that it doesn't, you know, it doesn't completely flop. So I love it. I love it. So I think I'm going to end the video there for now. We still have our booklets to put in, but I think I'm just going to make those as we do our studies because why not? They're super easy to make. So the next time I see you for this project will be, oh, I didn't put my cover on, my back cover, so I'll just stick that on there. Will be November 3rd. Diane will post her video first because we're going to do 2 sessions that day. She's going to do session 1 and I'm going to do session 2. So she's going to post hers a couple hours before mine. So if you want to watch hers first, mine next, that's kind of the order that it's going to go in. So we'll see you on November 3rd and we'll get started on the study. Oh, before that, you know, go to my coffee shop on November 1st or after November 1st and pick up the study questions, prompts, inductive study stuff in my coffee shop. It's there for free. I'll link it below on here, but it won't be ready until November 1st. Pick that up and start working on your study. Do as much as you can before you watch the videos. That's the way that you learn the best. Watch the videos, do a little bit more study based on what you learned from what we're doing. And yeah, we'll go from there. It'll be kind of a, you know, this is a bit of an intense study over a couple of days, but I think you'll get so much out of it that way. It's just one psalm, but there's so much depth there. So see you on November 3rd. Blessings. Okay, I put my ribbons into my book. After I was finished, I thought of a better way to show you. So I'm going to show you this better way and cut out that other part because I think it was probably confusing. So I'm just going to show you on here because I can't redo my book. So what I want you to do is cut 3 ribbons that are exactly 3.5 inches long. That's important. So be as precise as you can. I just have 2 here because I'm just going to show you on a model, on this little model. Well, I can show you with 3. So I'm just going to cut 1 more. So I have 3 that are exactly 3.5 inches long. Okay. So then take your first ribbon, and I showed you in the video how to measure 1 inch in, 1 inch in, and in the center. I'm not going to worry about doing that for this example. So I want you to put it right at the edge of this 1 1/4 inch overlap. Okay. So tape you're going to have pages here, so it looks a little bit different, but, and then put 1 at the other side, line it up right with that edge, and then put 1 more in the center, line it right up with the edge, like that. Okay, and then I'm just going to squish all of this up, and then turn it over. And then I'm going to get 3 more pieces of tape. Let me just get my tape out here first. Okay. And then instead of like measuring this to see if this is exactly 1 inch, this is the part that I'm going to change for you. Just wrap this around, line up this edge right, this edge of the ribbon right with the edge of your binding, and tape it on there. That makes this exactly 1 inch, which is what we want. We don't have to mess around with the ruler and trying to estimate things. So again, do this, line it up right with the edge, tape that one on, and the third one, wrap it around, line it right up with the edge, tape it on, and then what we have is, this one doesn't have all the pages, it's flopping already here, but if you open it up like this, then it has 3 ribbons that are exactly 1 inch. Because we have 1 1/4 over here, we have 1 1/4 over here, and we have 1 inch there. So then you don't have to mess around with the ruler and try to estimate how big to make them. So hopefully that is helpful. Okay, back to the video.